Gold Rush money, born in dust and fire. These are the Gold Rush coins from the James A. Stack Senior Collection Sale, Part 2. Schultz and Company was primarily a San Francisco-based foundry that also produced coinage dies for other private mints. But for a brief period of time in 1851, they also tried their hand at making coins for the local Gold Rush economy. But shortly thereafter, controversy erupted as their coins were discovered to have been underweight slightly. Word spread like wildfire, and most were melted for recoinage. As a result, today only around 14 examples of their $5 seem to have survived. The current example, graded as XF Details, was sold at auction for $40,800. In the California Gold Rush, Moffat and Company became one of the most trusted private coiners in San Francisco. Their $10 pieces of 1849 were struck to answer the desperate need for a reliable money. Unlike some pioneer issues preserved as curiosities, these coins worked hard in commerce. Heavy circulation was the rule, which explains why worn examples are common. Well, maybe that's not quite the right word for it exactly, but while attractive mid-grade pieces are decidedly scarce. This example, graded as EF45 by PCGS with CAC approval, is an especially pleasing survivor, which was sold for $43,200 at auction. In the Gold Rush years, several private mints rushed to turn California gold into usable coinage. Amongst the earliest was Norris Gregg Norris, whose 1849 $5 pieces circulated widely in San Francisco's booming economy. This example carries an extraordinary personal connection to that history. It once belonged to John Glover Kellogg, the future founder of Kellogg and Company, and one of the most important figures in early California coinage. It eventually made its way into the Stack collection and is today graded as PCGS AU50 Plus to have fetched $52,800 at auction. In California's gold economy, the United States Assay Office of Gold issued massive $50 pieces, octagonal slugs that functioned as both coin and bullion. Struck under assayer Augustus Humbert, they were almost the first large coins that were produced in San Francisco. This 1851 lettered edge $50 slug belongs to the earliest phase of that coinage. Its reverse carries a large 50 denomination, a feature believed to have been used only during the first initial months of 1851, when the assay office was still producing high-value ingots. This is graded as AU Details by PCGS and achieved a closing price at auction of $60,000. Before federal mints reached the southern goldfields, miners in the Carolinas relied on a German-born assayer named Augustus Bechtler. Beginning in the 1830s, Bechtler converted regional gold dust into privately issued gold coins that circulated widely across the southeast. His $5 pieces were struck in several fineness standards, including the very scarce 128 grains 22-carat variety, one of the rarest Bechtler issues, with only about 24 examples believed to have survived, including this AU53 example, which was sold at auction for $66,000. In the winter of 1848, Mormon pioneers in the Salt Lake Valley faced familiar frontier problems. Gold was arriving from California, but usable coins were not so much. The Deseret Mint was the answer to this problem. The 1849 Mormon $2.50 emerged later in that year, part of a small coinage produced between September and December. Roughly 3,000 pieces were struck, only about 50 of which survive today. This example, graded as XF45 Plus by PCGS and achieved a closing price of $90,000 at auction. In the gold rush economy, a handful of men stood at the very center of California's transformation from dust to money. Few were more pivotal than John Glover Kellogg. Arriving in San Francisco in 1849, he worked for Moffat and Company, helped operate the United States Assay Office, and in 1853 founded Kellogg and Company, one of the most important private mints of the era. This example is extraordinary, not simply for its preservation, but for the ownership and provenance. It was Kellogg's own coin, preserved by the coiner himself. Today, the coin rests in a PCGS slab with a grade of AU58 plus to sell for $90,000. Shortly after gold was discovered at Sutter's Mill, reliable money barely existed. The US Mint had no presence in the West Coast just yet. Private firms stepped in to convert raw gold into coins that the booming economy could actually use. Among the most important of those was Moffat and Company, whose 1849 $5 piece became some of the earliest gold coins circulating in San Francisco. This extraordinary example is graded as MS63 and has an unbroken provenance from the day of its minting to today, having just sold at auction for $114,000. Gold arrived in Oregon not as coins, but as dust and nuggets carried north by returning miners. Commerce struggled without reliable money. In 1849, a group of Oregon City merchants formed the Oregon Exchange Company, striking crude but trusted gold to stabilize the territory's economy. Their $5 piece, soon nicknamed Beaver Money, shows the animal that symbolizes the region's fur trade prosperity. Of the approximate 6,000 coins struck, today only around 40 to perhaps 50 examples are left surviving. This PCGS XF45 example was sold at auction for $156,000. In the first chaotic years of California's gold coinage, striking conditions and equipment was often less than ideal. The 1852 over 1 Humbert $10 is a great example of that story, with its dramatic die crack which runs diagonally across the entire coin, bisecting it completely. Among the roughly 50 to 75 examples believed to have survived, this coin stands apart in terms of preservation as well. Graded as MS62 by PCGS, it's a frontier gold rarity that fetched $204,000 at auction, the first time that this coin has changed hands in nearly 80 years. By early 1853, Washington demanded conformity to the federal 900 gold standard. But in San Francisco, gold rushed into California faster than the federal mint system could keep up, and refiners faced a practical problem. They simply lacked the chemicals needed to reach that level of purity. So, briefly, the United States Assay Office of Gold struck coins refined to only 884 fineness. Production began on February 23rd. 1853, and lasted barely a week before the transition towards the federal gold standard of coinage. That fleeting moment produced one of the great rarities of Western numismatics. Even more remarkable is this coin's long absence from the marketplace. The coin has not been publicly offered since Lyman Lowe sold it in 1916. Today, it is graded by PCGS as MS63 and was sold for $222,000. Subscribe to WNN and feel free to watch part 1 of the James A. Stack Sr. auction right here. Next. For the World Numismatic News, I am Numisman saying thank you for watching, keep collecting, and have a fantastic day.